Sarah stood at the entrance of the attic, her hand frozen on the dusty doorknob. She had always felt a strange pull towards this forbidden space, ever since she was a child. Her parents had warned her never to go up there, insisting it was dangerous and unstable. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that the attic held answers to questions she didn't even know she had. Today, curiosity outweighed fear. She took a deep breath, turned the knob, and pushed the door open. A cold gust of air rushed past her, carrying the scent of old wood and forgotten memories. As she stepped inside, the floorboards groaned under her weight, their echoes lingering in the stale air. Sunlight struggled to penetrate through a tiny, grime-covered window, casting eerie shadows on the scattered trunks and antique furniture. Cobwebs hung from the wooden beams, swaying slightly as if disturbed by an invisible presence. Sarah's heart raced as she took in the scene, feeling as though the shadows were watching her, whispering secrets she couldn't understand. She moved cautiously, her fingers brushing against dust-coated boxes and faded photo albums. Each object seemed to carry a story, a fragment of the past locked away in silence. Her eyes caught a glimpse of an old mirror leaning against the wall, its glass foggy with time. As she approached, her reflection appeared distorted, almost ghostly. For a brief moment, she thought she saw another face, a pale figure with hollow eyes staring back at her. She stumbled backward, her breath catching in her throat, but when she looked again, it was just her reflection. Trying to shake off the unsettling feeling, Sarah turned away from the mirror and continued exploring. Her gaze fell on a wooden chest tucked in the corner, half covered by a moth-eaten blanket. Unlike the other relics, this chest was beautifully carved with intricate patterns, its wood polished and untouched by dust. A rusted lock held the lid securely shut. It seemed out of place, too pristine for the decaying attic. Her fingers traced the carvings, feeling the cold metal of the lock. She tugged at it, but the chest wouldn't budge. A sense of frustration mingled with her curiosity. Why was it locked away? What secrets did it hide? Just then, a faint whisper echoed through the room. It was soft, almost melodic, but the words were indecipherable. Sarah's heart skipped a beat as she spun around, eyes wide with fear. The attic was empty, silent except for the faint creaks of the house settling. She told herself it was just the wind, yet the whisper had sounded too real, too close. A cold shiver ran down her spine, and she wrapped her arms around herself, trying to shake off the eerie sensation. She turned back to the chest, a sense of urgency growing inside her. It felt as though the whisper was connected to it, calling her to open it. But how? The lock was old and rusty, and she didn't have a key. Her mind raced with possibilities. Could she break it open? Or maybe there was a key hidden somewhere in the attic. Determined to find out, she began rummaging through nearby boxes, scattering old books and papers across the floor. Suddenly, the whisper returned, louder this time, carrying a hint of sorrow. It echoed off the walls, circling her like a chilling breeze. Sarah froze, fear tightening around her chest. The air grew colder, the shadows darker. She felt a presence behind her, a weight pressing down on her shoulders. Her eyes widened as she turned slowly, expecting to see someone standing there. But the room was empty, filled only with the faint echoes of the whisper. Her hands trembled as she backed away from the chest, her heart pounding in her chest. She stumbled towards the door, desperate to leave, but just as she reached for the doorknob, it slammed shut on its own. The whisper grew louder, angrier, filling the room with a haunting wail. Sarah screamed, banging on the door, but it wouldn't open. She was trapped, surrounded by shadows that seemed to close in on her, drawn to the chest that held a secret no one was meant to uncover. Sarah's fists pounded on the attic door, her screams echoing off the cold walls. The shadows danced closer, their shapes twisting unnaturally, eyes glowing faintly within the darkness. The whisper grew into a wail, mournful and furious, rattling the floorboards beneath her feet. She pressed her back against the door, tears streaming down her face as she sank to the floor. There was no way out. Her eyes darted to the chest, the source of the haunting presence. It sat untouched, the carvings on its surface seeming to writhe as if alive. A faint glow seeped from beneath the lid, pulsing in rhythm with the whispers. Sarah's fear battled with curiosity. Whatever was inside that chest wanted to be found. But did she dare open it? The air grew colder, frost forming on the mirror's surface. A figure appeared within it, a woman in a tattered dress, her eyes hollow, her face twisted in grief. She reached out through the glass, her mouth moving soundlessly, pleading. Sarah's heart raced as she realized the whispers were coming from the woman, her sorrow echoing through the attic. A sudden memory flashed before Sarah's eyes, a photograph from her grandmother's album, a woman standing beside a man who looked eerily familiar. It was the same face as the ghostly figure. Sarah's hands trembled as she pieced it together. This woman was part of her family. The chest didn't just hold a secret, it held a legacy. Summoning her courage, Sarah approached the chest once more. The glow intensified, the lock trembling as if responding to her presence. She reached out, her fingers grazing the cold metal. The whisper softened, turning into a gentle hum, urging her to open it. The lock clicked and fell away, the lid creaking open on its own. Inside, she found letters tied together with a frayed ribbon, yellowed with age. Her hands shook as she unfolded the first one. It was written in elegant handwriting, words of love and sorrow spilling across the page. It was a letter from the woman to her husband, begging him to forgive her, to protect their child from a curse that haunted their bloodline. Sarah's eyes widened as she read the final lines, "The silence screams in this house. Our pain echoes through generations. Break the curse and set me free." The air shifted, the shadows retreating as the ghostly figure appeared beside the chest. Her hollow eyes softened, a tear slipping down her pale cheek. "You found me," she whispered, her voice like a breeze. "You broke the silence." Her body began to fade, the glow enveloping her, her form dissolving into light. The attic brightened, the sunlight now pouring through the window, warm and golden. The frost on the mirror melted, the glass clear once more. The chest lay open, the letters resting peacefully inside. Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders, the air no longer heavy with sorrow. The curse had been broken. The silence had finally spoken its truth. She stood up, her fear replaced by a sense of fulfillment. She gathered the letters, knowing they belonged in the family's history, a truth that needed to be remembered, not hidden. As she opened the attic door, she glanced back one last time. The shadows were gone, the whispers silenced. A gentle breeze rustled through the room, carrying a voice that was no longer sorrowful but grateful. "Thank you."